make up rules for fun, right? Well, no. Well, that points out there that there's good things that come from following God's rules, from doing what God tells you. It's not just like you get spiritual bonus points on like a yellow star sticker board. Like, actually good things happen, because that's the way God has designed life. When you play by God's rules, you win. And that's what that verse says there. I understand. Who else found a section that they liked?
Oh.
Kendall, I saw your hand first.
We looked up why it's awesome to be a Christian. And part of it that I liked was, it said, in him we have redemption through his blood, the forgiveness of sins in accordance with the riches of God's grace that he lavished on us with all his wisdom and understanding. So it's kind of saying, like, through him, like, we kind of have everything.
Exactly. Wonderful understanding. Who else saw a section they liked? Yes.
Okay.
Which section did you look at?
A good prayer for when times are tough, and it is 3:14 to 21. And we're going to do one part. It says, and to know this love that surpasses knowledge, that you may be filled to the measure of all the fullness of God. So it kind of means God is always with you.
Yeah, God is always with us. I think the good thing that you picked out there was the last thing you said, which was like the full measure, like to the fullness of God. That's something that you see in this book over and over again. It's like living life to the fullest, you know? Having a full life in Christ is something to see. Good on you. Let's go one more. Who else saw something they liked? I saw Jake sneak his hand up. Good to see Jake. Well, Liam, are you the spokesman for the group?
No, but...
Okay.
Grace found out.
Oh, the spokesman.
Me and Liam and Evan read How to Be a Good Husband or Wife.
This comes into my day every day.
Well, I think only half of that applies to you, right?
Yeah.
Actually, none.
And
except for my small times.
what did you want to say what you liked about it?
I can say I did the same thing.
All right. Logan did it too. So.
I did it too, and I just like how the husband and wife share such a bond, like mentally. Like it says their flesh is together, and they do everything together as a whole, just as Christ does it through all us, right?
That's right. That's right. Yeah, one of the things it points out there is like, you know, everybody likes to point out that section, like all the rules it has for the wives. Everybody always likes to point that out. But what they often forget to point out is that the section to the husband is like almost twice as long. And it's, I think, a lot harder. Because it says that husbands should love their wives like Jesus loved all of us. And what did Jesus do for us? Yeah, he died for us. So that's pretty gnarly. What? You have one? Ladies, what'd you guys find?
We read the why you should stop doing the things you used to. We used to do
17 through 32.
Okay, what'd you like about that one?
Okay, it says, in your anger, do not sin. Do not let the sun go down while you are still angry. Do not give the devil a foothold.
Okay.
like not to, while you're angry, to like calm down before you act on it, because your like decisions may be, your normal decisions may be distorted by your anger, and you may like make a mistake. And that if you act on your anger, that you'll be giving the devil a foothold and pleasing him.
Yeah, my favorite thing about that section is that it says that it's okay to be angry. A lot of times, people will tell you, or they'll misunderstand what the Word of God says, and they'll tell you that you shouldn't be angry, that you shouldn't be upset, that you shouldn't be mad. And I'll tell you, that's just not true. You should be mad if something that makes you mad happens. Now, the way you feel is much different than what you choose to do with it, as Lauren taught us. You shouldn't hang on to that anger. You shouldn't let that become a foothold for the devil. An easy way is they say, never go to bed angry. That's some marriage advice somebody gave me. Don't go to bed angry. Always sort things out before you go to bed, so that way you don't leave any fights till the next day. Kendall, you already talked. Wait, what's your name, sir?
Jake.
Jake, tell us what you saw.
It
was this is the armor of God in Ephesians 6:11, how to be a warrior, and it was finally be strong in the Lord and in His mighty power. Put on the full armor of God, so that you can take your stand against the devil's schemes. For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. Therefore, put on the full armor of God, so that when the day of evil comes, you may be able to stand your ground, and after you've done everything, to stand.
So why did that stick out to you? What did you take away from that?
It's like, it means like God will always be there for you, and if people are trying to get you to do something bad, or just something bad in general.
Okay. Yeah. You trust in God, He'll be trustworthy. So you guys have really eager faces, so I'm just going to say yes to it. I want to go Evan. I want to see what Evan has to say.
I read How to Be a Good Parent. And
are you going to go tell your parents this?
yeah. Whenever they're being mean, I'm going to say go read Ephesians 6:4. What does exasperate mean?
Exasperate means like
His question.
imagine that you're riding like a horse and you never give it any water. And you just keep riding it and riding it and riding it, and you never take care of it, and then it just gets really tired and just wants to give up.
My mom and dad.
That's what exasperate is.
Alright.
Oh, doesn't it say like children not to like exasperate their like mom and dad?
Flip it.
No.
Fathers, don't exasperate your children.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So it's like, dads, back off. Just chill out. Otherwise they want to give up. Let's go. Last one. Hunter.
Me and Sam, Sean, not Sam, we did How to Be a Serious Christian. It was mostly reading because it was like 21 verses long. But some things that stood out to me was that it says, but everything exposed by the light becomes visible, for it is light that makes everything visible. This is why it is said, wake up, O sleeper, rise from the dead, and Christ will shine on you. That didn't really make sense to me.
So that section did not make sense to you?
No.
Is there any part of it that did make sense to you?
Yes. Some parts of just like basic rules. It said, for of this you can be sure, no immoral, impure, or greedy person has any inheritance in the kingdom of Christ and God. Let no one deceive you with empty words, for because of such things God's wrath comes on those who are disobedient. Therefore, do not be partners with them.
Okay. I think Hunter has given me a perfect segue into what we're going to talk about tonight. Because every time you read the Bible, it's really important that you make sure you read it in its context. You know what that means, right? Like you don't take out one little snippet and say, oh, this is everything that book has to say, right? It's ideally that you would read the whole book and see how everything fits together. And Hunter's section sounds pretty harsh. It sounds like, look, hey, don't be fooled. People who talk a big game but don't actually live this out, it's foolish for them to imagine that they would inherit what God has for them. And that sounds kind of mean to you. But let's make sure that we look at it in context. I'm actually going to talk to you guys a little bit about the chapter before that, chapter 4. If there's one thing that I want you to take away tonight, it's I want you to take away that God is inviting you to live a life worthy of the calling that He's given you. God has called every single one of you guys to live a life for Him. And it's either your choice to live a life worthy of that calling, up to the bar of that calling, or to not. I just want to check with my medieval reader. Medieval reader, are you ready for this evening?
James.
Yeah? You are? Okay, it's not time yet. I just wanted to give you the heads up. Make sure you follow along. You'll be ready to go. Let me tell you a little bit of story first. When I was 16, I had a very sad thing happen to me. Me and my friend went surfing one day. We drove down to, we were going to drive down to Trestles. So we strapped down our boards, hopped in the car. It was one of those perfect mornings. It was chill. I think it was either fall or winter because it was nice and glassy and it was just perfect conditions and I was just pumped to get out there. But as we were driving down the road, actually the 5 freeway, where it's the widest part, right by the 73, we heard this funny sound coming from the roof. It was like boom, 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 boom. I'm like, what is that? And I remember looking out through the windshield, and I saw the tails of our boards go boom, 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 boom. We went, what? And I didn't have to tell my friend because he yelled out something because he saw in the rearview mirror the boards fly off the car. They went underneath the green Corvette, which was right behind us. And then the Corvette kicked them up into the grill of a semi-truck. And I turned around just in time to see my less than a year old, brand new Becker 6-foot board just go. The biggest piece we found was about this much of the forward left rail. And it was a sad day. But the story of losing that surfboard isn't why I want to tell you that story. The story I want to tell you is because right after that, we pulled over to the side of the road. My friend was driving. We pulled our car over. The green Corvette pulled over, and the semi-truck pulled over. Now, obviously, we could have really hurt somebody with that. And we were lucky that nobody was hurt. Cars were damaged, but no people were damaged. So we pulled over the side of the road to exchange insurance information, and myself and my friend, we were 16 years old. It was our first year of driving. We were a little nervous. I remember standing by the rail. You guys know where that Christmas tree lot is, right? Over by the In-N-Out. I remember staring at those Christmas trees, and my friend comes up to me. He's like, "Hey, Riley, just get in the car. Let's get out of here." And I understood what he was saying. He was saying, "Let's just get out of here." He was like, "The Corvette is busted. They're not going to drive. The semi-truck will take too long to get up to speed. We can get out of here." And so for a moment, I was like, "Are we going to get in the car or are we not?" Say no. What I did was I just stood there. I pretended to not hear my friend because the thought of doing that made me physically ill. Because I think that many of you are like me. You know deep down what is right and what is wrong. Sometimes, if you're like me, sometimes you can feel guilty, or you can feel ashamed. Sometimes even sick to your stomach if you've done something that you know is wrong. Like, you know who you are and you know who you aren't. And sometimes we can live a life that's inconsistent with who we really are, and we know it, and that can make us feel sick. That can make us feel ashamed. It can make us feel guilty. Some of us have lived a life like that. Some of us are living it right now. Some of us are ashamed of what we're doing, and we know it. But for whatever reason, we're too scared, we're too ashamed to come clean and try to fix things. But also, many of us in this room used to live like that, and now we don't. We met Jesus, and Jesus taught us a new way to be human. He told us that we could leave all that behind and start over again. Now, I bring this up because some of the people that Paul was writing to in that city of Ephesus, it seems like they had the same problem, because chapter 4 seems to address this issue of knowing what's right and wrong, but really not being able to quite do it yet, or not having it totally figured out. These people have been following Jesus for some time, but they were still living like they used to in a lot of ways. And so in verse 1 of chapter 4, Paul says, look, I want you guys to live a life worthy of the calling that you've been given, worthy of the calling that you received. And that whole section goes on to explain a little bit more. But before we dive into it, with my medieval reader, I can see that Natalie's hand has feverishly been up. Natalie, what's your question?
Two things. Did you end up getting in the car?
No, we didn't.
Oh, and also, like, when you said don't go to the angry, what if it's something you want to talk about to someone in person? How's that?
Well,
like,
I would
if they
say,
don't live in your household.
okay, so you're angry with someone, but you can't resolve
Or
it.
they're angry with you or something like
Okay.
that.
Well, there's also a section in the Bible where it says, look, as far as you can be, as far as it deals with you, try to be at peace with everybody. Now, obviously, you're still in middle school. Your parents are not comfortable with you running around at midnight, right? So it would be disrespectful for you to do that. So if it's not resolved, but you've done everything that you could, then that's okay. Work on it the next day. Does that answer your question? Okay, thanks for taking that break with me.